In the Bible's final, cryptic book of Revelation, there's a highly specific census. It's a list of 144 Zeusan people who are sealed and saved from a coming apocalypse. The book tells us they're drawn from the 12 tribes of Israel, with exactly 12, 0 chosen from each one. It's a moment of divine accounting, a roll call for God's chosen servants who will stand firm through the tribulation. But if you look closely at this list, you'll find a mysterious and frankly disturbing omission. A name that should be there is just gone. Revelation lists Judah, Reuben, Gad, Asher, Naphtali, Manasseh, Simeon, Levi, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. If you know the original 12 tribes of Israel, you immediately spot the problem. One of the original sons of Jacob, a foundational tribe of Israel, is completely missing. So why was the tribe of Dan left off this crucial list? Revelation itself doesn't give us a direct answer. There's no footnote, no explanation. It's an erasure that has puzzled theologians for nearly 2,000 years. This silence has sent investigators combing back through the Old Testament, hunting for ancient clues. And what they've found is a dark and unsettling history, a pattern of idolatry, rebellion, and a shocking theory about the origin of the most evil figure in human history, the Antichrist. What did the early church know about Dan that we've forgotten? And was their exclusion a punishment for past sins, or a chilling prophecy of the future? To really feel the weight of this mystery, we first need to understand the bedrock of Israel's identity. The nation began with a man named Jacob, whose name God changed to Israel. Jacob had 12 sons: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. These 12 sons became the patriarchs of the 12 tribes, the very foundation of the nation. Their names are recited throughout the Old Testament, a sacred roll call defining the people of God's covenant. For centuries, these 12 tribes made up the Israelite confederation. When they entered the Promised Land, the territory was divided among them. The tribe of Levi, however, was set apart for priestly duties and didn't receive a land inheritance. So, to keep 12 territorial divisions, the tribe of Joseph was often given a double portion through his 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. This is why Old Testament lists can vary. Sometimes you see Joseph, sometimes his 2 sons, but the number 12 is almost always sacredly preserved. Now let's jump to the end of the Bible, to Revelation chapter 7. The Apostle John sees a vision of 144, 0 servants of God being sealed for protection. He gives a very specific list of the tribes they come from. From the tribe of Judah, 12,000. From the tribe of Reuben, 12,000. From the tribe of Gad, 12,000. From the tribe of Asher, 12,000. From the tribe of Naphtali, 12,000. From the tribe of Manasseh, 12,000. From the tribe of Simeon, 12,000. From the tribe of Levi, 12,000. From the tribe of Issachar, 12,000. From the tribe of Zebulun, 12,000. From the tribe of Joseph, 12,000. And from the tribe of Benjamin, 12,000. Right away, a few odd things stand out. The priestly tribe of Levi, often listed separately, is included here. The tribe of Joseph is listed, but so is his son Manasseh, which is unusual. But the most glaring change is the complete absence of Dan. Not only is Dan missing, but another tribe, Ephraim, is also gone by name, though many scholars believe he's represented under the name of his father, Joseph. Dan, however, is simply erased, with Manasseh seemingly taking his place to keep the number at a perfect 12. This isn't some casual oversight. In a book overflowing with symbolism, every detail matters. The omission of an entire tribe from this divine list is a profound statement. Since the Bible offers no direct explanation, we have to become biblical detectives, piecing together clues from the historical and prophetic records. Our investigation starts with the most common theory, that Dan was cut from the list because of its long and tragic history of idolatry. To understand the case against Dan, we have to go back to the chaotic era of the Judges, a dark time in Israel's history defined by the haunting phrase, "In those days Israel had no king. Everyone did as they saw fit." It was a time of moral freefall, and it's here, in Judges chapter 18, that the tribe of Dan takes center stage and begins its fateful turn. The story starts with the tribe of Dan being unhappy with the land God had given them. Pinned in by the powerful Philistines, they found it too hard to conquer. So, instead of trusting God, they decided to find an easier target. They sent 5 spies to scout for new land, and their journey led them to the house of a man named Micah. Just before this, in Judges 17, we learn Micah had set up his own personal shrine with carved idols, which was a flagrant violation of God's law forbidding idolatry. He even hired a Levite who was looking for work to be his personal priest, another act of rebellion, since the priesthood was restricted to the line of Aaron and worship was centered at the tabernacle. When the 5 Danite spies stumble on this scene, they aren't horrified, they're intrigued. They actually ask the priest to inquire of his idols if their journey will be successful. After getting a good forecast, they continue on and find the quiet, unsuspecting city of Laish. They go back, rally 600 armed men, and head out for an invasion. On their way, they make a detour back to Micah's house. What they do next is shocking. They don't just pass by, they storm the shrine and steal all the idols. When Micah's priest protests, they offer him a job. "Come with us," they say. "Isn't it better to be a priest for an entire tribe of Israel than for just one man's household?" Seeing a better career opportunity, the priest agrees and takes the stolen idols with them. The Danites then march on Laish, slaughter the peaceful inhabitants, burn the city down, and rebuild it for themselves, naming it Dan. And the very first thing they do? They set up the stolen idols. The scripture is chillingly specific. The children of Dan set up for themselves the carved image, all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh. While the rest of Israel was supposed to be worshipping the one true God, the tribe of Dan established its own center of idolatry, a rebellion that would define its legacy. This wasn't just a one-time mistake. This act set a pattern that would haunt the tribe for centuries. Fast forward to the split of the Israelite kingdom. The first king of the northern kingdom, Jeroboam, fears his people will remain loyal to Jerusalem in the south. So, to consolidate his power, he devises a plan. He makes 2 golden calves and tells the people, "Here are your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt." And where does he put these new centers of false worship? He places one in Bethel in the south, and the other, strategically, in the city of Dan in the north. The city of Dan, which had begun its tribal apostasy hundreds of years earlier, now became a primary hub for national apostasy. The sin of Dan was baked into its identity. While other tribes also fell into idolatry, Dan was a trendsetter, a leader in the rebellion. Its name became synonymous with turning away from God. Many scholars argue this is the main reason for its exclusion in Revelation 7. The 144, Zuzur are God's sealed servants, set apart for holy service. From this perspective, a tribe so defined by unfaithfulness was simply unfit for this special role. While idolatry provides a powerful theological reason for Dan's omission, another theory looks at the mystery from a more practical, historical angle. This view suggests that by the time Revelation was written in the late 1st century, the tribe of Dan may have already vanished as a distinct group. To explore this, we have to look at Dan's difficult history. From the start, the tribe struggled. Their original land on the coast was heavily contested by the Philistines. Judges 1:34 says, "The Amorites forced the Danites into the hill country." Facing this pressure, a large part of the tribe chose to migrate north rather than fight, which led to the conquest of Laish. This split the tribe, with one group in the south and another far to the north. This northern home, however, put them on the extreme frontier of Israel, bordering foreign nations. This isolation could have led to them gradually assimilating with their neighbors, like the Phoenicians. Some passages hint at this. For example, in 2 Chronicles 2:14, the master craftsman sent from Tyre to help build Solomon's temple is the son of a woman from the daughters of Dan, but his father was a man from Tyre. It's a small clue that suggests the lines were already blurring. The real turning point came in 722 BC with the Assyrian conquest of the northern kingdom. The Assyrians had a brutal and effective policy. They deported the 10 northern tribes and scattered them across their empire, replacing them with foreigners. This was designed to destroy any sense of national identity. These are often called the 10 lost tribes of Israel because, from a historical standpoint, they largely vanished from the biblical story. They were absorbed into other cultures, losing their language and identity. While the southern kingdom of Judah would later be exiled to Babylon, they mostly kept their identity and returned. The northern tribes did not. Some evidence suggests the tribe of Dan was hit especially hard. In the first census taken during the wilderness wanderings, Dan was the second largest tribe. But its numbers seem to have dwindled over time. Notably, when the genealogies are recounted in the Book of Chronicles, the tribe of Dan is conspicuously absent. This has led some to suggest that by the time this was written, around 400 B, the tribe was already considered lost or too small to track. However, other scholars note the author of Chronicles was selective and also omitted other groups, so this isn't definitive proof the tribe had vanished. According to this theory, the reason Dan isn't on the list in Revelation is simple and not a punishment. They just weren't an identifiable tribe anymore. John's list, from this viewpoint, is a roll call of the existing tribes. If the Danites had fully assimilated into other cultures, there would be no tribe of Dan to draw 12,000 people from. It wasn't a symbolic erasure, but a reflection of historical reality. But this tidy explanation doesn't satisfy everyone. For many ancient scholars, Dan's disappearance was a sign of something far more sinister. A dark destiny, they believed, was foretold in the earliest pages of Scripture. This brings us to the most startling theory surrounding Dan's omission. The idea that it's a prophetic signal that the Antichrist will emerge from this lost tribe. This isn't a modern fringe theory. It was a prominent view held by some of the most respected early church fathers, who saw a trail of serpentine clues woven through the Scriptures, all pointing back to Dan. The trail starts in Genesis, with the patriarch Jacob's final prophecies over his sons. When he gets to Dan, his words are unsettling. In Genesis 49, Jacob says, Dan will provide justice for his people. Dan will be a serpent, by the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heels so that its rider falls backward. The name Dan means judge, so the first part seems positive, but the serpent imagery is deeply ominous. In the Bible, the serpent is a symbol of deception and Satan. To call a tribe a serpent, by the way, was to associate it with a hidden, deadly threat. It paints a picture of Dan as an ambusher who brings down a much larger power through a stealthy, venomous strike. Immediately after this dark prophecy, Jacob cries out, "I look for your salvation, Lord," as if what he foresaw for Dan deeply disturbed him. This serpent imagery became a key piece of evidence. Early theologians connected it to a passage in Jeremiah 8:16. The snorting of his horses was heard from Dan. At the neighing of their stallions, the whole land trembles. While this verse likely referred to the historical Babylonian invasion coming from the north, it took on a second, more sinister meaning in prophetic interpretation. Since Dan was the northernmost tribe, it was seen as the gateway through which the Antichrist armies would invade Israel in the last days. A third verse used to support this theory is in Deuteronomy 33:22, which says, Dan is a lion's whelp, leaping out of Bashan. While being a lion is often positive, some early interpreters saw this differently. Bashan was a region known for its association with paganism. They read this as an image of a fierce evil ruler emerging from a place of darkness. These clues, the serpent, the northern invader, the lion from Bashan, formed a compelling if interpretive case. By the 2nd century, Irenaeus, a prominent bishop, wrote plainly that the Antichrist would spring from the tribe of Dan. His student, Hippolytus of Rome, elaborated, stating, "For as Christ springs from the tribe of Judah, so Antichrist is to spring from the tribe of Dan." They saw Dan's absence in Revelation as confirmation. For them, it would be unthinkable for God to seal 12 zilzowed righteous servants from the very tribe destined to produce the ultimate enemy of God. According to this view, Dan's omission isn't just a punishment or a historical footnote. It's a prophetic sign. The tribe that embraced the way of the serpent would, in the end, birth the final serpent. We've just explored 3 of the most prominent theories for Dan's mysterious absence: systemic idolatry, historical assimilation, and the chilling prophecy of the Antichrist. Each one opens a different door into biblical history and prophecy. Before we move on to our final theory and synthesize all this information, if you're finding this investigation valuable, and enjoy untangling the Bible's deepest mysteries, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell. It helps us continue to create in-depth content like this, and you won't miss our future explorations. We've looked at sin, history, and dark prophecy, but there's a fourth angle that shifts the focus away from Dan's specific faults and instead looks at the list in Revelation 7 through a literary and theological lens. This is the symbolic view, which argues that the list isn't a literal ethnic roll call, but a carefully constructed theological statement. First, let's remember the book of Revelation is filled with symbolism. The number 12 is hugely significant, representing divine order and perfection. There were 12 tribes, 12 apostles, and the New Jerusalem has 12 gates and 12 foundations. Keeping the number 12 in the list of the 144,000 is clearly intentional. The lists of tribes in the Old Testament aren't always identical. They change depending on the context. Biblical authors structured these lists to make specific theological points, and it seems John is doing the same in Revelation. Notice the changes he makes. The list isn't in birth order. It starts with Judah, the tribe of King David, and most importantly, of Jesus Christ. Putting Judah first is a powerful statement that salvation comes through the lion of the tribe of Judah. The inclusion of Levi, the priestly tribe, is also significant, suggesting that in the new covenant all believers are part of a royal priesthood. So, why drop Dan and Ephraim, who, it's widely thought, is included under his father's name, Joseph? Both tribes have strong negative reputations in the Old Testament. As we've seen, Dan was a leader in idolatry. The tribe of Ephraim was too. The prophet Hosea famously said, "Ephraim is joined to idols, leave him alone." By removing the two tribes most known for idolatry and swapping in Levi and Joseph, John may be creating a symbolic list that represents a purified Israel. The 144,000 are described as undefiled, so the list is structured to represent a spiritually pure people, with the names most tied to apostasy symbolically cleansed from the roster. There's also a simple math problem. Jacob had 12 sons, but he adopted Joseph's two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, effectively creating 13 tribes. To maintain the symbolic number 12, one tribe usually had to be left out. In Revelation 7, John needs a list of 12. He includes Levi. He also includes both Joseph and Joseph's son Manasseh. This creates a math dilemma. To get back down to 12, two names had to be dropped. The ones chosen are Dan and Ephraim, the two most notorious for idolatry. In this interpretation, the point isn't just to punish Dan. It's a compositional choice that serves a broader purpose. It allows John to keep the sacred number 12 while creating a list that symbolizes the holiness and purity of God's end-time people. We've journeyed through centuries of history and prophecy to investigate one of the Bible's most enduring questions. Why is the tribe of Dan missing from the 144,000? We're left with four distinct theories. First, the idolatry theory. Dan's exclusion was a divine judgment for its persistent role in leading Israel into apostasies. Second, tribal absorption theory. A historical explanation suggesting that by the 1st century, the tribe had simply been assimilated into other cultures and ceased to exist as an identifiable group. Third, the shocking Antichrist theory. An ancient belief that Dan was omitted because it is the tribe destined to produce the Antichrist, a view held by influential early church fathers. And finally, symbolic theory. The idea that the list is a theological composition, with Dan removed to create a symbolically pure roster of God's servants. So, which one is correct? The truth is, the Bible doesn't give us a definitive answer, and maybe that's the point. The silence forces us to engage deeply with the text and wrestle with its themes. These theories aren't all mutually exclusive. It's possible that Dan's history of idolatry led to its historical assimilation, which was then interpreted as fulfilling a dark prophecy, all reflected in the symbolic list in Revelation. What we do know is that Dan's absence feels intentional and significant. It stands as a silent monument in the pages of Revelation, a testament to the seriousness of idolatry. Yet, the story may not end there. In the prophet Ezekiel's final vision of a restored Israel, found in Ezekiel chapter 48, the tribe of Dan is listed once again, receiving its land inheritance along with its brothers. This final piece of the puzzle suggests that while Dan may be excluded from the honored roll of the 144,000 during the tribulation, they are not necessarily erased from God's ultimate plan of restoration. Their story serves as a profound lesson that a legacy of rebellion can have consequences, and that even within God's chosen people, unfaithfulness can lead to being sidelined from roles of highest honor. Was Dan's omission a punishment, a historical footnote, a symbolic message, or a dark prophecy? The Bible leaves the final verdict shrouded in mystery, inviting us to ponder the evidence and consider the solemn warnings embedded in its silence. The mystery of the tribe of Dan is just one of many complex and fascinating subjects hidden within the Scriptures. What do you think is the most compelling reason for Dan's omission? Do you lean towards the historical idolatry, the prophecy of the Antichrist, or another view? Let us know your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. We read everyone and value the discussion. If you enjoy unraveling the Bible's deepest questions and exploring the intersection of history, theology, and prophecy, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications. Thank you for joining us on this investigation.